How's it going, Critter Family? I hope you all are doing well. Today we're going to be going over a video, one of my older videos, and I'm going to be showing you, this is kind of part two to a video I posted a couple of days ago, where I explained that I would show how I work with a dog, showing aggression and reactivity. This is Zeus. The name of this is on my channel. It's in the playlist, Working Through Reactivity. Dog training with a reactive dog, Zeus. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. There's no sound. What I would do differently, we're going to show, first off, what I would do differently is I wouldn't have him in this head collar. There's a collar with a little nose strap. I wouldn't have him in this. That's where the second leash comes from. The tension I am putting on this is the harness, so I'm not putting tension on the leash to get him to move into pressure. I also wouldn't have him in this type of harness because he's a very hard puller, and this kind of harness... Are you crazy, Ellie? This kind of harness is bad for the shoulders, the I know it's not a collarbone, but that kind of area, the trachea area of a dog, it can, really dig into their chest. So I would use a harness where it has instead of a strap around the shoulders. We'll see if we can see a picture of this, of his little friend here, Lucy. Rest in peace, sweet Lucy. We'll see if we can, right there, you see it's one strap that goes around the shoulders. Thank you, Miss Lucy. And I would have him in a harness that has more of like a strap that goes in between the legs instead of in front of them. Just so that way it's a little bit more comfortable. So those are the first things that I would change, is I would take off the head halter and I would have him in a different harness. But here I'm just working on loose leash walking. We're working on him giving into, as light of tension as I can. And he's a very hard puller, so it takes a little bit to get him to move one step back. So I have to kind of pull on him harder than I would like to. But over time, if you had continued, then he would be just as soft as Adonis was. So second thing I would do is I wouldn't start working in this park, or if I were, I would move way out here and I would just stand there for the entire hour, for 30 minutes, for 20 minutes, whatever it is. Here we have a person coming up ahead of us. And this is where, since he's already kind of pulling, he was standing there just fine. If he's pulling this hard, I would probably start going back to the car. And I would just stand outside of the car and just chill with him. What we're going to see here in a minute, trigger stacking. Trigger stacking is when you have multiple triggers in one spot. Or one trigger after the other trigger, after another trigger, after another trigger. So we're going to get kind of trapped here in a moment. We're going to get trapped over in this general vicinity. And so that's why, look, things happen. I'm trying to prevent him from pulling to go sniffing the bush, because if he pulls and sniffs, he gets rewarded for that. I'm trying to work on a whole number of behaviors. I'm talking to the people. I'm not really able to give Zeus my full attention. But as we see somebody over here, I would actually start backing up and increasing a little bit of distance. So that way I could get him to focus on me and I can have, be giving him a treat. So here he's just sniffing. I would actually stand here. Okay, so he sees something and he starts reacting. We increase distance. I get him to focus on me. I get his reward. Good. He barks again. So I would actually, since he is barking, I would start walking backwards. And this whole two leash thing here is just, really messing me up. I don't want anybody to get tangled. But here is where we're going to have somebody coming from either side of this park, of this little path here. So he's barking. So I would actually now take him and start heading back towards the car or towards a big open field. I'm not sure what it is that he sees, but we're trying to move backwards. He sees there's also a spot over here people could be in. So here is the time when we just need to retreat. And that's what we're doing. Now here I might work on actually walking backwards to get him to follow me, to get his attention, to reward. He's also getting to sniff. That could be a reward. It's just a cluster ball of unfortunate events here. So you see something behind us. So I would just drag him and start walking. I mean, you can, there's going to be times, so we have the stroller, we have a dog, we have two people on this side, there's going to be someone on this side. The tension doesn't help at all. Um, so he is just going ballistic. And so you can either sit here and wait. I'm trying to get him on as loose of a leash as possible, knowing that he's way over threshold and I can't get his attention. So we either sit here and wait, or we just retreat and drag him back to the car and we stand outside the car. I'm not putting him in the car. We're not hiding in the car. We might go in the car to reset, but then I'm going to try and counter condition this experience. So this is not the end of the world, but this is not what we wanted to happen. There might be somebody else that comes. There is somebody else that comes. So he's sitting here barking. He is standing in place, but I don't want him barking. I don't want him doing any of that. Right now, I wouldn't worry about the treat. I'm not worried about calling him or saying his name. Right now, I'm just trying to... Are you hiding those treats? All right, good job. You hid those treats. Good job. Right now, I'm just trying to hold him still. So this is trigger stacking. We got another person with a stroller. We got another person with two dogs. So I'm just trying to hold him here. This looks like it's terrible. It is terrible. I don't want this to happen, but you know what? It happens. And we can still get over this. This was a mistake that was made. It's a human error. It's not the end of the world. It feels like it. I feel like I'm less of a trainer because this happened, but you know what? We grow from it. This is from several years ago, and this might still happen today. So right now, I would say this is an area that is way too overstimulating for him. Let's go back to the car. Let's work in the car, work around the car, and that's as far as we're going. So that's what happened there. We continue to walk on the trail, and there's, a lot of other things that happen, but this was a mistake that I made. This is still on my channel, Dog Training with a Reactive Dog, Zeus, in the playlist, Working Through Reactivity. So here I have, he's barking at the fence. I have him on his leash, and we are walking away. Walking, getting distance. More distance. Don't chew on that, please, baby girl. More distance. I'm waiting for him to give me his attention. He does. I reward. And then I let him go. Because the trigger has passed. I wouldn't let him go again back to the fence if the trigger was still there. In this case, he likes to chase cars. So I'm able to do that in this environment. In the other environment, I was not able to do that. He goes back to the fence. We just hang out. We chill. Hi, cutie. Clean out the lens. Okay, so now I have him on a long line. And we are just out here, and he's on his loose long line. He starts to whine and bark. I start backing away. He comes to me. I reward. He goes back to look at his distraction. I'm okay with that. So I start moving backwards. I'm trying to create a draw for him. I make sure to fix his little foot so he doesn't get tangled up. He's under threshold here. He's able to focus on me. He's still looking at his distraction. Flabby little boy. He looks at me, gets a reward. Again, he's under threshold here. In the other environment, he was over threshold. I let him look away and look at me, and he gets a reward. He continues to follow me. He continues to get rewarded. I go close to the fence. I go away from the fence. I'm walking away. I'm not dragging him to follow me. I'm just looking around. I'm letting him look. If he comes to me on his own, I will reward. If it were me now, I might actually walk this way in front of his shoulder, and then I might start backing away to call him. And look at that. Looks like I am. Good. Excellent. I'm not rewarding myself. I'm rewarding the dog. But that is the timing that you want. So I let him go. I'm trying to create another draw. He comes back to me. Reward. And so if I do this, that probably means there's a trigger coming. There's no tension on the leash. He's on a 20-foot long line. I am practicing behavior when he's under threshold. So that way this behavior becomes more natural behavior. He sees a trigger. He runs to it, but he doesn't get to the end of his leash. I don't believe he's barking. If he was barking, I would have walked him away. So I have to get a little bit closer to him to get his attention because he's a little bit more drawn to whatever is over here. So I get closer, I get his attention, I bring him water, I walk away. I allow him to look at the distraction. He looks at me, makes his own choice, and I reward for that. You start when your dog is under threshold in as little of a stimulating of an area as possible. And then you practice that over and over and over again. And slowly build up the distractions. So when they do practice this in real life, when there is a distraction, they remember, oh, when I look at my person, I get rewarded. I don't have anything right in front of his face. I'm not bribing him. I'm not saying, hey, here, come here, get this. I was ready to reward him for following me while I'm walking backwards. So that tells me that there's a distraction somewhere over here. With me walking backwards, I'm keeping his attention on me. Good. He saw it. He wanted to go for it. He remembered on his own, or I called him, and he came to me. This is what I do now. If he were barking at the fence and I couldn't get his attention, like here, he pulled a little bit more towards the car. I'm trying to call him. He does come. Terrific. If it were a dog, I would not be able to. I would not expect him to come to me if that were a dog. But it was a truck that drove past this way. So that's twice. I don't know what the 2 means. Oh, there was probably two cars or 2 dogs. And he's choosing to stay here. I'm not bribing him. I'm fixing my belt. I'm fixing my pants. I'm fixing whatever. I'm not bribing him to stay here with me, but I will absolutely reward him for sitting patiently. I tell him he can go free. He still chooses to hang out with me. This is what I do. This is what I do now. This is what I would have done back then. If he's in an area that's too distracting, I would call it and say, you know what? We need to go back to the car. We need to go back to the car. We need to just work in the car, and then we need to maybe even drive to an area. This right here, this area we're in is in Stanwood. His family lives in the general area, not far from here. The video before that, they were in Bellingham. So they drove a ways to get down there to meet at that park. So it's not like we could just go home and practice at home. So we could figure something else out, but that's why I would say let's work in the truck, let's work in the car, let's work around the car, and just practice that. So here I'm reinforcing him. I know it's out of camera, but I'm reinforcing him for staying with me. I'm letting him go, telling him he can go up to the fence and sniff if he wants to. Seeing if he wants to leave me. So here we have, he's way over threshold. There's a truck driving here asking a question, asking, I think, if I work there. Which doesn't help when I'm trying to train with him. But, these people were nice. They didn't mind. So he's over threshold, so I take the leash and start walking away. Hi, baby girl. So this is, I know, Ellie. Ellie is bumping into the microphone. So this is the difference. Okay, you can change your method. You have good days, you have bad days. The video before this, there was just a bunch going on. But, hey, we learn. We learn from it. We change. Good boy. He goes right back out. Oh, yeah, I remember that hurt my hand a lot. Got some rope burn, which is why I hate those cheap nylon leashes. So wherever he is, if he ran towards this truck, then I would either back him away and create distance, or I'd wait until he was, wherever he is, I would get close to him. This is fast forwarded a little bit. So I got him on the leash, got him on a shorter leash now. I learned after getting a rope burn. So now I'm applying pressure and I'm dragging him away from whatever it is he's reacting to. And I'm creating distance. If I have to drag him away, then I will. My choice is not to drag him away. I'm trying to make sure he's on a loose leash now. As long as he stays on a loose leash. This guy is not helping anything. Probably waiting to use this area. But again, he's not helping anything by just standing there. And we're clearly working on something. So he keeps barking, so then I increase distance. After a while, we come back. I think I'm going to probably pack up here pretty soon. He starts barking again. I got to take him away. So normally I would have taken him away, but because this guy is talking to me, we're clearly working with this dog. I know I'm just being nitpicky here, but anyway. Zeus gets reinforced for this behavior, whereas I normally would have just walked him away. I could have ignored this guy, but this guy's talking to me while I'm clearly working with the dog who is barking at him. But okay, whatever. People are going to get mad at me because I get mad at people. All right. But I would have walked him away. Then we have trigger stacking. We have the guy talking. We have this car coming. And eventually I just say, no, I got to get him away. So I have to drag him away. After a while, he remembers I'm there. Then we can reinforce over here. And it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world over here. Or that happened, that it's the end of the world. Previous training makes future training easier. Okay, prior training makes future training easier. So we have a dog over here. I'm trying to get his attention. I can't, so I get a little bit closer. Try to call him. Can't, so I have to get him on a shorter leash and I have to walk him away. So this lesson was, I mean, it's like a 16-minute video, but I was probably here for 45 minutes, at least, working with him. And I wouldn't normally work that long. I know if I'm just working one-on-one with the dog, it's like 30 minutes, total with the dog. And a lot of that is playing and taking lots of breaks and whatnot. So, but anyway, that's just, a couple of videos that you can find on my playlist, Working Through Reactivity. So if you go to, you look up my channel, K9 Tay, and you go to up here, you can go to playlists, and it is Working Through Reactivity right here. There's 10 videos that you can see. And all of these videos, there's the first one right there. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Happy New Year's to everyone. Go say how to do to your little critters for me. Give them some kind of love and they appreciate it. Until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.